I am Cormac Dane. I fix the stuff nobody thinks about until it stops working. Signals, switch machines, track circuits, the cabinets that sit beside the rails and hum all night, full of relays and wiring and dust and heat, keeping trains from occupying the same piece of track at the same time. I live in Baltimore. Weekdays I'm out on the right-of-way. Weekends I walk empty spurs and dead industrial branches with a camera, filming quiet videos about abandoned infrastructure, old warehouses along the Middle Branch, disused sidings near Curtis Bay, forgotten stairwells behind shuttered stations. My audience is tiny. A few people who comment about rust and brickwork and where the tracks used to go. I listen to news talk while I work because it keeps me awake in control cabinets. It fills the dead air when you're kneeling in ballast with a headlamp and a meter, trying to figure out why a track circuit is showing occupied when the rails are empty. You don't want your brain drifting when the work is live and trains are still running. That morning it starts as clips. Not even a real story. More a highlight reel the hosts keep circling back to. A guy on a bus in Philadelphia punching strangers until people drag him down. A woman in a grocery store in Northern Virginia launching across a checkout lane, biting, clawing, screaming. A fight at a shelter in New York where the video ends early because the person recording runs. The hosts argue about drugs, about mental illness, about copycat violence, about heat, about politics, about all the usual junk that fills airtime. Then the phrase shows up from a doctor they bring on. Calm voice, careful words, behavioral contagion. Not a virus, not a riot, not a terror event. Something that spreads through contact and proximity, the way panic spreads, the way a stampede spreads, except this isn't people fleeing. This is people attacking. I'm at West Baltimore, out by the rail yard, in a concrete signal room with a metal door and a tired air conditioner. The room has the usual smell, hot dust, old insulation, faint ozone from a power supply. The cabinet is open. My meter leads are clipped in place. I'm tracing a bad indication on a switch point detector, the kind of problem that can delay a whole corridor if you don't solve it fast. My phone buzzes on top of the cabinet. It's our supervisor, Lonnie, and I can hear his side of the call even before I answer because he's talking loud and fast. The guy has a voice built for yelling over engines. Cormac, where are you right now? Not how's it going? Not did you find it? Just location. I tell him. West Baltimore. Signal room by the interlocking. I'm inside. There's a pause that feels wrong. Then I hear paper shuffling and a second voice in the background, not one of our guys. A voice with that flat office tone, somebody reading off a script. Lonnie says, listen, new order, all crews stay on site, doors locked, do not travel. Do not respond to calls outside your assigned limits. You got that? I sit back on my heels because that does not happen. Rail companies do not lock crews in. They don't want anyone sitting idle. They want you moving, clearing faults, keeping trains rolling. You do not tell a signal tech to sit in a concrete room and wait. I say, is there a hazard on the right-of-way? I'm thinking chemical spill, active shooter, something you can point to on a map. Lonnie says, just lock the door, stay put, keep your phone charged. I'll call when I can. I got another call coming in. He hangs up. I stare at my phone. Outside the signal room, I can hear distant horns and the low rumble of diesel engines. Normal sounds. The whole world still feels normal for another minute. The radio in my ear, the talk show, shifts tone. The host isn't joking anymore. A caller is crying, saying her brother was at a train station in Newark and people started attacking each other and someone got blood on her brother's face and now he's not right. The host tries to calm her down and asks if anyone bit him. She says she doesn't know. There was blood, there were fists, there was spit. Spit, that word sticks. They cut to a press conference. Somewhere, a city seal behind a podium, microphones lined up. An official says the phrase again, behavioral contagion. He says people should avoid crowds, avoid transit stations, avoid shelters unless directed. He says emergency services are responding. He says there is no need to panic. No need to panic always means you should start thinking about leaving, except I can't. Lonnie told me to lock the door. I stand up and close the cabinet door, more out of habit than anything. I walk to the signal room door and look through the narrow wired glass. The The yard outside looks the same. A maintenance truck is parked near a fence. A couple guys are walking with clipboards, probably our own track crew. Nobody is running. I lock the door anyway. My next thought is stupid and basic. Water, bathroom, food. I'm in a signal room that was never meant to be occupied for long. There's a folding chair, a dusty first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, a rack of spare fuses, and a small sink that works when it feels like it. There is no fridge, there is no stash. I have a bottle of water in my backpack and half a bag of pretzels. I text my coworker Mason, who is usually on another crew nearby. I keep it short. You getting the same order? He replies a minute later, yeah, locked in a hut near Halthorpe. You seeing anything? I type back, nothing yet. News is wild. I put my phone down and listen. The broadcast shifts to Baltimore. A clip from downtown, a short shaky video of people fighting near the inner harbor. Someone says police are trying to separate groups. Someone says medics got hit. Someone says the hospital is asking for blood donations. Then another voice says, do not go donate blood right now because the donation centers are overwhelmed and it will create crowds. Contradictions by the hour. It starts that fast. By late morning, the phrase changes from behavioral contagion to acute aggression syndrome, to rage events, to mass violence incidents. The hosts try to label it, and every label breaks the moment they say it. A doctor calls in and says it is not just bites. He says that is an assumption people are making because it feels familiar. He says exposure to bodily fluids matters. Blood, saliva, mucus, tears maybe, if it gets in your eyes. He says nobody has solid data yet, so he can't say how much exposure it takes. He says the people who develop symptoms do it fast, minutes to an hour. He says the behavior is explosive. He says a sedative can bring it down sometimes, but you can't sedate a crowd. I sit in the folding chair and feel the air get hotter. Not from temperature, from the idea that the world just got smaller. I'm in a locked signal room beside live tracks. If something goes wrong out there, I'm trapped inside a box. Then the rail system starts turning into the story. First, it's a report out of Washington about a train stopped in a tunnel because someone pulled an emergency brake. People on board started fighting. The conductor tried to intervene and got hit. Someone says someone got spit in the face and started attacking a minute later. The train sits in a tunnel with no platform, full of screaming, and the only way out is forward, which it can't do because the signal system is holding it at stop. Then New York. A commuter train stuck between stations. Platform jammed. Emergency gates locked in the wrong direction. The words are messy, coming from callers and shaky clips, but the pattern is clear. Transit is a trap when people are the hazard. Baltimore's rail network is not New York, but it has its own choke points. Penn Station, Camden Station, the light rail running north and south, the subway line, the bus loops that feed everything. The Northeast Corridor where Amtrak runs through and commuter trains connect into Washington. The MARC trains that pack in at rush hour. Around noon, I get a message from Lonnie. Remain locked. Await further. No explanation. No timeline. At 1:15 in the afternoon, my phone lights up with an alert. A basic emergency message. Stay indoors. Avoid crowds. Do not use public transit. Then another alert from the rail operator's internal system comes through our work app. All passenger service suspended pending security evaluation. All field personnel maintain position. Lock doors. Do not open for anyone. That one chills me more than the public alert, because it's not about safety from a storm. It's about keeping bodies separated. I stand and look out through the wired glass again. A track crew truck is pulling away. Two guys climb in fast. The truck leaves the service road heading toward the yard gate. Someone is not following the order. Or someone got a different one. Then I see a man running along the fence line. No vest, no hard hat. Street clothes. He runs hard, head whipping back and forth, and he slams into the fence with both hands, shaking it. I can't hear him through the door, but I can see his mouth moving. He points at the signal room, at me, and pounds the fence again. He looks normal for a second, just desperate. Then he jerks, head snapping, and he slams his forehead into the fence. Once, twice, hard enough that I can see the impact. My stomach tightens. The news clips were far away. This is outside my door. He drops to his knees, then springs up and runs again, not away from danger, towards something I can't see. A minute later, 2 more figures appear from behind a storage container. One is a woman in a hoodie. One is a man in a bright security shirt. They are not walking together. They are colliding. The security guy swings something, maybe a baton. The woman dodges and lunges and grabs his sleeve, then his face. He stumbles back, trying to shove her off. His other hand goes to his cheek. Then he freezes for a split second, and his posture changes. He turns his head, eyes locked on the woman, and he moves at her with no hesitation. No fear, pure forward. I back away from the door. My hands are shaking, so I press them against my jeans. That's the first time it hits me that I might not go home tonight. I check my backpack. 2 bottles of water, actually. One I forgot about. A protein bar. Pretzels. A small flashlight. Spare batteries. A multi-tool. Gloves. Safety glasses. A cheap disposable rain poncho. Stuff I carry because my job is messy. My phone buzzes again. Mason. Bro, I saw one. Halthorpe parking lot. Dude went off. Bit a lady. Cops came. Cops got hit with blood. One cop started swinging on his partner. I type back. You locked in. Yeah, but I don't trust this door. It's a hut. I glance around my signal room. Concrete walls, metal door, deadbolt. It's better than a hut, but it's still a box. The broadcast says Baltimore City schools are closing. Then it says schools are sheltering in place. Then it says parents should not come pick up children. A caller says his kid's school locked the doors and won't answer. Another caller says the buses are stuck because the drivers got pulled off a route for safety. Someone reports a fight at Mondamin Mall bus terminal. Someone else says the whole area is hot and to stay away. Then I hear the first mention of the stations being controlled. A host reads a message from a transit employee. They told us to lock emergency exits to control flow. That phrase, control flow. It sounds like rail signaling, not public safety. It sounds like someone treating people as train traffic. I've worked around dispatchers and controllers long enough to know the mindset. You keep the system stable by restricting movement. When a corridor is congested, you hold trains at signals and stack them. When there's a failure, you isolate sections. It's clean on a screen. It's a nightmare when the cargo is humans. By mid-afternoon, the power grid starts wobbling. Not a full blackout. Brownouts, lights flicker. The air conditioner in my signal room makes a sad noise and stops. Then it restarts. The cabinet fans keep running, but they sound strained. Our equipment has backups, battery strings. Some sites have generators. Most don't. Signals are supposed to fail safe. That's the phrase. Fail safe. A signal goes dark. Trains stop. That keeps trains from crashing. It also means everything freezes. Around 3:30, I hear a distant train horn, long and angry, then another, then a chorus. That's not normal. Drivers lay on the horn when something is on the track, or when they're warning at crossings, but this is sustained, a sound of frustration. My phone lights up with internal chatter. A dispatcher message copied into our system. All movement stopped. Multiple trespassers on right-of-way. Authorities request trains hold. Await clearance. Trespassers. That word is too small. That word is what you write when you see a kid cutting across tracks. You do not call a crowd climbing down onto the ballast trespassers, but that's what the system knows how to call it. The news shifts again. It's no longer just incidents. It's spread. Cities lighting up on a map. Boston, Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles. International reports. London, Paris, Frankfurt. Then a report from somewhere in South America. Then the host says the same pattern is being seen across borders and oceans, and nobody knows if it started in one place or many. A researcher comes on and says it behaves like a virus that targets behavior. But he refuses to call it that because he doesn't have a lab confirmation. He says the speed suggests exposure plus a trigger. He says stress, noise, crowding might act as accelerants. He says the human body is already full of latent systems that can be hijacked. He says adrenaline is a weapon. I want to laugh at how academic it sounds, but I can't. I saw the security guy outside. I saw the switch flip. At 4:15, the banging starts on my door. Not the soft rattle of someone checking a handle. Fist strikes, then a shoulder. The metal door flexes. The wired glass vibrates. I jump up, heart hammering, and I grab the deadbolt with my hand even though it's already locked. My mouth is dry. I don't speak. I don't ask who it is. I lean in and look through the glass. A man in a safety vest is right there, face close. He's one of ours. I recognize him, Jay, from a different crew. His eyes are wide. His hair is matted with sweat. There is something on his cheek that could be blood. I can't tell. He yells something I can't hear, then he points behind him. Then he pounds the door again, not in anger, in panic. He's begging. Behind him down the service road I see movement. 3 figures, then more. They are not walking normally. They're moving too fast, too direct. They look at Jay and their bodies angle toward him. Jay turns, sees them, and slams his shoulder into my door once more, harder. Then he runs. I stay frozen. Hand on the deadbolt, watching through the glass as he runs along the fence line. The figures chase him. He stumbles near a puddle, catches himself, keeps moving. One catches up and grabs at his vest. He spins, yanks free, and keeps running. They pile on him anyway. A tangle of bodies, arms, heads, violent motion. I step back because I can't watch it close. I can't help. I also can't open this door. Lonnie's order makes sense now in a brutal way. Do not open for anyone, not because they do not matter, but because one mistake means you join the pile. My phone buzzes. Mason again. They just tried my door. Somebody in orange vest. He was bleeding. I didn't open. He got grabbed. Jesus. I text back. Same here. Stay locked. The next hour becomes a tight loop of listening and waiting. Each new report narrowing my options. The city announces shelter in place. Then it announces curfews. Then it announces road closures. A rumor hits that the National Guard is staging at the armory. Another rumor says troops are moving on the highway. Someone claims the airport is shutting down. Another person says flights are still taking off. Contradictions stack up until nothing feels real. At some point, the hosts stop taking calls because callers are screaming or crying or giving locations that get them targeted. They start reading official updates only. Those updates are calm. Too calm. They talk about coordinated response, about public cooperation, about staying indoors, about not spreading misinformation. Then I hear the phrase that I will hate for the rest of my life. Shelter in place. It is repeated over and over as if it's a spell. Shelter in place. Shelter in place. Shelter in place. I'm in a shelter right now, technically. A concrete room, but I know what shelter in place means for people who aren't already behind a locked metal door. It means stay inside your apartment with a thin door and a hallway full of neighbors. It means shelter in a school with kids packed in classrooms. It means shelter in a hospital waiting room. It also means stop moving. Stop flowing. And I'm starting to understand that someone wants the flow to stop for a reason that isn't about saving everyone. The rail system has service corridors, maintenance ladders, cross passages, rooms behind walls that the public never sees. In Baltimore, parts of the subway have access points that connect to utility tunnels. There are stairwells that lead to locked doors with keypads. There are passages that only exist because someone had to build and maintain the system. I have keys. I have access cards. I have a work identity that opens doors most people don't know exist. That becomes my first real plan. Not a good plan, just a plan. Stay in the signal room until dark. Move when the outside slows. Use the service corridor network to get north toward my apartment. My place is in a row house neighborhood that's not far, but not far is meaningless when the streets are chaos. The problem is, I don't know if the outside slows. The people in the clips were not tired. They were relentless. If anything, they looked energized by movement and noise. At 6:30, the news reports a cluster at Penn Station. They don't say rage virus yet. The phrase is still avoided, but callers describe the same thing. A fight in the main hall, someone bleeding, someone spitting, a worker trying to close gates and getting hit. Then it spreads through the crowd. People rush the exits. A security shutter is pulled down. People get trapped against it. A second report says trains are being held outside the station because the platform is unsafe. That means the approaches are stacking up. That means trains are stopped on the main line, likely with passengers on board in a corridor that has limited egress. I picture it in my head in pure technical terms. Signals at stop, track circuits occupied, dispatchers holding routes, switches locked. A system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Freeze movement to prevent collisions. Except the collision now is human. I get another internal message, a short one. All signal maintainers do not attempt to restore service. Do not respond to trouble calls unless directed by emergency management. Maintain site security. Emergency management. That phrase is new in our system. That phrase means someone outside the company is now calling shots. At 7:10, the power flickers hard. The lights go out for 3 seconds. My phone screen becomes the brightest thing in the room. Then the lights return, weaker. The cabinet fans surge. I hear relays clacking inside equipment. The kind of sound you don't want, because it means the system is changing state. For a moment, I imagine all the signals in the corridor dropping to stop at once. Trains freezing wherever they are. People trapped in cars and tunnels and platforms. Panic. Then the aggression hits. Bodily fluid contact, crowds, movement. My hands are shaking again. I drink water and force myself to think in steps. Step 1. I cannot stay here forever. Even if nobody gets in, I will run out of water and then I'll be forced out weak. Step 2. The surface is dangerous. Crowds, unknown exposure, no control. Step 3. The corridors and maintenance routes are my advantage. Step 4. I need protective barriers between me and fluids. Gloves, eye protection, poncho. Anything that keeps a splash off my skin. I pull on my work gloves. I put on the safety glasses. I wrap the poncho in a way that covers my chest and arms. It's cheap plastic, but it's a layer. I put extra water in my pockets. I clip my flashlight to my belt. I grab my multi-tool. I wait at the door for a long time, listening for footsteps, for banging, for voices. The outside is quieter than earlier, but quiet in a city can mean the power is out, not that the danger is gone. At 8:30, I unlock the deadbolt, crack the door, and look out. The service road is empty. The yard lights are on but dim. I step out and shut the door behind me, locking it again out of instinct, as if I might come back. The air outside smells wrong. Not smoke exactly, not yet. More a mix of trash and sweat and something metallic. There is a distant siren, then another, then a silence that eats them. I move along the fence line toward a maintenance access that leads down into a service corridor. The gate is locked with a company padlock. I have the key. My hands fumble. I force them steady. I open it, slip through, and lock it behind me. That's pointless if someone is chasing me, but it's something. The access door is a heavy metal panel with a keypad. My badge works. The door clicks open. Cool air rolls out, damp and stale, the smell of concrete and old water. I step inside and close it, listening for the latch and gauge. Then I'm in a narrow corridor lit by emergency lights. The hum down here is different. Less city noise, more mechanical. Pumps, vent fans. The faint buzz of power. This is my world. This is the part of the city that doesn't care about news or panic. It cares about maintenance schedules and corrosion, and water intrusion and electrical load. I move fast but quiet. My boots echo, so I shift to stepping on the edges where dust and grit dull the sound. I keep my flashlight low, only using it when the emergency lights flicker. I pass a junction where a ladder goes up to a locked hatch. That hatch comes out near a street crossing. I don't take it. Not yet. I keep deeper, following a route I know from past inspections. One that connects toward the subway infrastructure. I'm listening to news the whole time, one earbud in, volume low. It feels insane, walking underground in a plastic poncho, listening to a calm voice tell me, shelter in place, while I'm doing the opposite, but it keeps me oriented. It tells me what parts of the city are burning, where the police are collapsing, where the crowds are. A report comes in about Johns Hopkins Hospital locking down. A nurse calls in, voice shaking, saying they have people coming in aggressive, biting, spitting, and the staff are trying to protect themselves with face shields and gowns, but they don't have enough. She says someone got blood on his face in triage and then started attacking staff. She says security tried to restrain him and it spread to security. She says they are closing doors and turning people away. Turning people away from a hospital, that's when I know this is not coming back tomorrow. Then the official voice returns. Same calm tone, same measured phrasing. It says do not travel. It says remain indoors. It says avoid contact. It says authorities are implementing containment measures. Containment. That word belongs to chemical spills, to lab accidents, to things you isolate. It does not belong to a city full of people. I move through a service corridor and reach a maintenance room with a small monitor panel. It's not a fancy control center, just a local status display for pumps and power. But it has a map of zones and alarm points. I stop and look at it because it's the closest thing to a truth I can trust. Machines don't spin stories. I see power drops in multiple sectors. I see pump alarms. I see doors showing open where they should be closed. I hear faint footsteps overhead through the concrete. Maybe. It could be vibrations from something else. But I freeze. Because down here you learn the difference between a train rumble and human movement. Trains have a rhythm. Humans have irregularity. I wait. I hear nothing again. I keep moving. By 9:40, I reach an access that comes up near Penn Station's lower service area. I'm not trying to go into the station, not into the public hall. I want to skirt it and push north, staying in service routes that parallel the corridor. I climb a ladder into a small utility space and crack the hatch just enough to listen. Above me is noise, shouting, metal banging, a scream that cuts off, then another scream, then a deep thud, repeated, like something being rammed against a door. I lower the hatch gently and sit on the ladder rung, breathing through my nose, trying not to gag on fear. That space up there is a slaughterhouse without knives, just bodies. The news confirms it. Penn Station is compromised. That's the word used. Compromised. Trains are being held outside. Police are not entering. Fire crews are staged but not going in. The official voice says people should avoid the area. Avoid the area. Sure. Tell the people trapped inside to avoid it. I backtrack and take an alternate route toward Mount Vernon, toward a maintenance corridor that runs closer to my neighborhood. I'm not thinking about saving the city. I'm thinking about getting to my apartment, grabbing supplies, and figuring out the next move. I come up through a locked hatch behind a service building near the tracks, not far from where the rail line cuts through the city. The night air hits me. It's colder than earlier. My phone says it's just after 10:30. Normal spoken time, 10:30 at night, a time when Baltimore should be loud with bars and traffic. Instead, it's patchy. Some streets are lit, some dark. Some blocks have kept people moving fast. Some blocks are empty. I keep my head down and move through alleys. I avoid main roads. I listen more than I look. When I do look, I do it from cover. I see a group near a corner store, not fighting, not yet, but clustered tight, yelling. Someone shoves someone. I turn away and take a different street because any contact is a risk, not just bites. Spit travels. Blood sprays when fists land. I pass a bus stopped crooked against a curb, doors open. No driver. Inside, seats are torn. A smear on a window. I don't go closer. I keep moving. When I reach my row house block, the street is half dark. A few porch lights still work. A car alarm is going off 2 blocks away, then stops, then starts again. That sound is a magnet for chaos. My front door is intact. I get inside fast, lock the deadbolt, chain it, and stand in my living room breathing hard, listening for footsteps outside. Home is not comfort. It's just another box. Thinner walls, more windows. I fill the bathtub with water. Basic move. I never thought I would do it in real life. I dump canned food onto the kitchen counter. I check the cabinets. I have more than I thought. Rice, beans, peanut butter. Not enough for weeks, but enough for days. I check my phone. Mason hasn't replied in a while. I text him. You alive? No reply. I text Lonnie. I moved, had to. Signal room unsafe. No reply. The news is still running, but it's not the same energy. It's more controlled now. Fewer callers, more official statements. The official voice is everywhere. It repeats the same points. Shelter in place. Avoid contact. Authorities are implementing measures. Do not interfere. A local reporter in Baltimore describes seeing doors chained at a transit hub. He says he watched people push on emergency exits and the exits did not open. He says he saw something that looked like a chain and a padlock through a gap. He says he tried to ask an officer and got told to move back. That's the first time someone says it on air in a way that can't be brushed off as rumor. Emergency exits chained. My brain clicks into a cold place because I know chains. I know padlocks. I know who has them. Facilities crews, contractors, rail maintenance, people who do not carry guns but can still shape movement. Some stations are being sacrificed. Not in a dramatic movie way, in a quiet logistical way. Block this door, funnel people that way, hold crowds inside a space until the space burns itself out. It's disgusting, and I also understand the logic in a sick way. If the contagion spreads through crowds, you reduce spread by preventing crowds from moving. You accept losses to avoid a wider collapse. That's the thought I fight with, standing in my kitchen, because the next step is obvious. If someone is doing that intentionally, the service corridors become more than a route. They become a border, a line between sacrificed and spared. And I have keys to that border. At midnight, the city feels different. The noise outside has shifted. Less traffic, more isolated bursts, a scream, glass breaking, a distant siren that fades and never returns. I sit on my couch with my shoes still on, poncho crumpled on the floor, safety glasses still around my neck. I keep listening because silence feels worse. I keep thinking about Jay outside my signal room, about the people trapped at Penn Station, about chained exits. At 1:20 in the morning, a new kind of report comes in. A caller says his cousin was scratched during a fight, got blood on his mouth, and within 15 minutes he started attacking his own family. The caller says it was not slow, not feverish, not confused. He says it was instant rage, direct violence, strength that didn't make sense. The host asks if the cousin had drugs. The caller screams that it wasn't drugs. Then the line goes dead. At 1:40, a doctor from a Maryland lab comes on and says they have evidence of a pathogen in saliva samples taken from aggressive patients. He says it resembles a virus, but he can't name it yet. He says it targets parts of the brain related to impulse control and threat response. He says it floods the system with stress hormones. He says the infected are not mad in a normal sense. He says the infected are stuck in a loop of threat and attack. He says something else that changes my next day. He says protective barriers matter. Eye protection matters, masks matter. Not for breathing it in from the air necessarily, but for preventing droplets from hitting mucous membranes. Eyes, mouth, nose. He says if you are exposed, wash immediately, soap and water. Do not touch your face. Soap and water. I can do that. I have that. Then the official voice returns and says, do not leave your home for any reason unless directed. That's new. For any reason. I look at my phone. No messages. I look at my apartment and realize it's not safe long term. Row houses share walls. People will move through back alleys. If one neighbor turns, the whole row becomes a chain reaction. I think about the service corridors again. Concrete, locked doors, limited access. No crowds unless someone opens the wrong gate. At 2:30, I make a decision. I'm going back underground. Not to fix signals. Not to restore service. To use my access to get away from the street-level chaos and to see what's happening at the stations people can't escape. I pack a backpack. Water bottles, food, gloves, extra socks, a hoodie, a cheap rain jacket. I find a pair of old swim goggles from a vacation and throw them in. I grab duct tape, not because it's magic, because it can seal sleeves and keep splashes off skin. Before I leave, I write a note and tape it to my door. It's for nobody in particular. Do not knock. Do not enter. I am not here. It feels stupid. I do it anyway. I leave at 3:15 in the morning, moving fast down alleys, keeping to shadows where streetlights still work. I avoid groups. I avoid any sound of yelling. My body is tight with fatigue and adrenaline. I reach a maintenance access near the rail corridor and use my badge. The door opens. I step into cool concrete again, and I breathe easier for the first time in hours. Down here, my phone still gets some signal. Not great, but enough to keep listening. The news now talks about rage virus. Someone finally says it on air. They call it that because the public is already calling it that online. The host says the term is unofficial. The host says officials prefer acute aggression viral syndrome. The host then immediately goes back to saying rage virus because that's what everyone understands. So that's what it is now, rage virus. A name that fits the behavior and says nothing about the biology. I move toward a station access that connects to a major hub, not the main hall, the backside, service corridor that runs parallel to public areas. The kind of route a technician uses to get behind locked gates. As I get closer, the air changes. Warmer, more humid, more human. The smell of sweat and waste, and something sour. I hear voices muffled through walls. Not just random echoes. Crowds. People are trapped in there. I reach a maintenance door with a small window. Through it, I see a narrow corridor with tile walls and fluorescent lights. There are people sitting on the floor. Families. A woman holding a toddler. A man with his shirt tied around his hand, blood soaking through. A teenage kid rocking back and forth, hands over ears. People look up at the door when they hear me. The door has a crash bar on their side. It should open with one push. It doesn't. I see why. A chain looped through a metal bracket locked with a padlock. I stare at it for a second and my brain tries to reject it, because it's one thing to hear it on radio. It's another to see the chain in front of your face. People on the other side start pounding, not in rage, in pleading. Mouths moving, hands on glass. One man points at the padlock, then at me, then at himself. I step back, not because I don't care, but because I need distance to think. Bodily fluid contact matters. If I open that door and the wrong person is infected, it spreads into the service corridor, into the route I'm standing in, into every maintenance path that might still be safe. If I leave it chained, those people are in a contained box with limited exits, limited water, limited everything. And if rage hits that crowd, it becomes a blender of blood and spit and panic. I hear the official voice in my earbud again, calm and sterile. Shelter in place. Remain indoors. Authorities are implementing measures. That voice isn't talking to those people. That voice is talking to people who can still close their doors and pretend. I look at the chain. I look at my multi-tool. It won't cut it. I look at the padlock. It's a standard heavy lock, the kind we use on gates. Then I remember something. The maintenance rooms often have bolt cutters for wire and fencing. Not always, but sometimes. I move down the service corridor to a small storage room. The door is locked with a keypad and my badge opens it. Inside, shelves of spare parts, cleaning supplies, coils of cable, a mop bucket. And on a hook by the wall, a set of bolt cutters. I pick them up and feel the weight. My hands go sweaty inside the gloves. I go back to the chained door. People are still there, staring, waiting. Hope turning into anger because they don't know what I'm doing. A woman yells something and points at her kid. I lean close to the window and speak loud enough for them to read my lips. If I open this, no one touches me. No one comes close. You cover your mouth. You cover your eyes if you can. You stay calm. They nod. Some do. Some look confused. Some look too tired to process words. I take a breath. I hook the bolt cutters around the chain link closest to the lock, not the lock itself. Cutting the lock might take too long. I squeeze, the cutters bite, the chain resists. I squeeze again, harder, using my body weight. The chain snaps with a sharp crack that echoes down the corridor. The crash bar moves. The door swings open a few inches. Then it stops because people push, because they can't help it. They surge. I step back and raise my hands. Slow, one at a time. My voice comes out rough. People start spilling into the service corridor. They look at me like I'm a firefighter. I'm not. I'm a rail signal tech with a flashlight and fear. I keep distance. I point down the corridor. Move, quiet. No yelling, no running. Stay off the walls. Do not touch your face. They start moving. A line forms, messy but moving. Families first. A woman carrying a kid. An older man limping. A teenage girl supporting him. A guy with a blood-soaked rag on his hand. Blood-soaked. My eyes lock on that. Blood is the risk. Blood is the trigger. I feel a surge of panic. I point at him and keep my distance. You, stay back. Hold that hand away from people. Wrap it. He nods, eyes wide, and he does it. He uses his shirt to wrap tighter. He looks embarrassed and scared. Then it happens. Not a full explosion. A small spark that could become one. A man in the group shoves someone who bumps him. Not hard, just irritated. The shoved person snaps back with a curse. Voices rise. 2 people step closer. That's all it takes for the air to feel electrified. I raise my voice. Stop. Back up. Keep space. For a second they listen. Then the man who started it spits when he talks and a droplet hits the other guy's cheek. I see it in the fluorescent light. I see it land. The other guy wipes his face with his palm, then his expression changes. Not slow. Instant. His eyes narrow. His body leans forward. His hands curl. Rage. He lunges at the man who spit. People scream. The line collapses. Someone falls. The guy with the bloody hand gets jostled and his rag smears against a wall. I step back hard and yank my flashlight up, not as a weapon, as a focus point. Move, down the corridor, now. They scatter. Some run the right way. Some freeze. The 2 men slam into a wall and grapple. One swings and hits the other's mouth. Blood sprays. That's the worst thing that can happen in a closed corridor. I feel the situation tipping into a chain reaction and I make the ugliest choice of the night. I slam the maintenance door shut behind the fighting men, trapping them back in the corridor they came from, away from the group moving forward. I grab the chain ends and loop them through the bracket again, not locked, just hooked enough to slow the door. It will not hold forever. It might hold long enough. I turn and run after the group I just freed, because now they are my responsibility whether I want it or not. We move through service corridors and ladders, staying away from public doors. I guide them with gestures and short commands. Quiet, space. Do not touch. Cover your mouth. Use your sleeves. Keep moving. I can hear banging behind us. The trapped door rattles. Maybe it holds. Maybe it doesn't. I don't wait to find out. We reach a maintenance junction with an access to a ventilation area that leads toward another part of the system. Somewhere safer, maybe. Somewhere less crowded? Definitely. The group is exhausted. People are crying. One kid asks where we're going. I tell the truth. I don't know yet. Away from crowds. My earbud keeps feeding me the calm official voice. Shelter in place. I look at these people, covered in dust and sweat, eyes wide, trying to be quiet in a place not meant for them, and that phrase feels cruel. Shelter in place. They did. They got chained in. At around 4:50 in the morning, I find a maintenance intercom panel that ties into a loop used for work crews. It's not a public broadcast system with polished announcements. It's a crude thing. A maintenance loop that can carry recorded messages between certain points. It exists so techs can coordinate when radios fail underground. I stare at it and realize something. This is a way to push a warning through the system without relying on officials. It's local, messy, but it's real. I record a message on my phone first because I can't trust myself to speak clean in the moment. My voice shakes. I keep it simple, no big claims, just what I saw. I say, if you are in a station and emergency exits are not opening, look for staff doors and service corridors. Do not crowd. Keep space. Cover your eyes and mouth. If you see chains on doors, do not waste energy slamming them. Move to another exit. If you get blood or spit on you, wash fast with soap and water. Do not touch your face. This spreads through fluids. If you are trapped, stay quiet. Noise pulls it in. I don't say my last name. I don't say my employer. I don't say exact locations that could get people killed by sending crowds to one spot. I keep it general but actionable. Then I plug into the maintenance loop and play it into the system. My voice comes out of a tiny speaker, tinny and flat, bouncing down corridors. It sounds wrong hearing myself in that space. It sounds too normal for what's happening. I don't know who hears it. Maybe nobody. Maybe a technician. Maybe someone trapped behind a door with a chain. An hour later, while we're tucked in a concrete maintenance room with the door wedged shut, the news host interrupts an official statement. He says, "We are receiving a recorded advisory that appears to be coming from inside the transit infrastructure. We cannot verify the source yet. We're going to play it because it contains practical guidance and matches what responders are describing." And then my voice is on the air. Tinny, shaking, saying the words I said into a maintenance loop now blasted across Baltimore. Not polished, not official. Just a guy trying to keep people from getting spit in the face in a crowded corridor. The people in the room look at me. A woman's mouth drops open. A teenager whispers, "That's you." I don't feel proud. I feel hunted. Because once your voice becomes guidance, people follow it. And once people follow it, you become part of the flow. I sit on the floor, back against a concrete wall, and listen to the host replay my message again, because the station is looping it. The host says it is the most concrete advice he has received all night. He says officials have not addressed chained exits directly. He says he is asking for a response. The replay ends. There's a second of dead air. Then the studio comes back with that strained steadiness people use when they know they are being recorded for history. The host says he has a producer in his ear telling him not to play unverified operational guidance. He says he's choosing to play it anyway until somebody with authority says the exits are not chained because people are dying in locked spaces. My stomach tightens at the word dying. He doesn't say it dramatically. He says it flat, like a fact he has accepted. The calm official voice comes back, not answering the question, just stepping over it. It says there are false reports circulating. It says emergency exits remain functional. It says transit authorities are maintaining order. It says those who interfere with emergency operations may be subject to arrest. I laugh once, sharp and ugly, because arrest is now a fantasy. I've heard the banging outside. I've seen the chain. I've watched a droplet of spit flip a person into violence in seconds. Nobody is arresting anybody in this corridor. The group with me is quiet. Quiet in a way that feels forced. People holding their breath. A kid whimpering and getting shushed fast. A man whispering a prayer and then stopping because his own voice scares him. I take my earbud out for a moment and listen to the room. Not the broadcast. The real room. Pipes humming. A faint drip somewhere. Then, far off through concrete and tile, a rushing sound. Not water, not wind. A wave of feet and voices that surges, fades. Surges again. The banging grows louder, closer, metal on metal, something heavy thrown into a door repeatedly. I stand up slow and look at the door we wedged shut. It's a solid maintenance door with a knob and a latch, not designed to stop a crowd. We jammed a broom handle under the knob and tied it off to a pipe. It will hold until it doesn't. I look at the group, maybe 20 people, hard to count in this light. A woman with the toddler, an older man with the limp, 2 teenagers, a guy who keeps wiping his hands on his pants even though he's wearing gloves I gave him from a box in the storage room. They all look at me now because I'm standing. I keep it simple. We move. Now. Quiet. They start gathering what little they have. A backpack, a purse, a plastic grocery bag. People carry their life in thin plastic now. I lead them to a junction where the corridor splits. One route heads toward a service shaft that can bring us up near a surface exit. Another route heads deeper into utility tunnels that run north, parallel to the rail corridor, toward less central stations and access points. Surface is tempting because it's open air, but surface is also chaos. You can't control distance. You can't control where someone is bleeding. You can't control how many people are in the street. Underground is controlled but risky. If something gets in down here, it funnels right at you. A corridor is a trap in both directions. The banging hits our door again, closer now. It rattles the pipes above us. Someone in the group gasps. A kid starts to cry. The mother clamps a hand over the kid's mouth, not harsh, just urgent. I point deeper. We go that way. We stay off the main station areas. We keep space. No touching faces. We move. The corridor slopes slightly, damp underfoot. I keep my flashlight on low and aim it at the ground. Emergency lights are still on, but they flicker in sections. Power is unstable. Everything is running on partial systems now. As we pass a vented grill, I hear voices on the other side, not in our corridor, in the public area. A woman yelling for her husband. A man screaming, "Get back," over and over. Then a sudden rising roar. A crowd sound, followed by that wet, ugly chorus of people attacking. We don't stop. We don't look. The news in my earbud keeps going even as I walk. The host says the city's 911 system is overloaded. He says call volume has crashed their ability to dispatch. He says do not call for information, only call if you are in immediate danger. He says he knows that's a useless distinction now because everyone is in immediate danger. He reads a message from a paramedic. The paramedic says crews are being told not to enter certain zones. The paramedic says they are staging and waiting for security clearance that never comes. The paramedic says he watched an ambulance crew get pulled out of their rig by a crowd and he can't stop hearing it. I think about how quickly services fall apart when the threat is people. Fires you can fight, floods you can map. This is different. This is a city full of potential ignition points, each person a match. We hit a mechanical room with a locked door. My badge opens it. Inside are pumps and electrical panels. It's louder here, a steady vibration. The room has a small wall map of the tunnel network and emergency egress points used for maintenance and inspections. I shine my flashlight on it and trace a route north. There's an access ladder that comes up near the Jones Falls Expressway. Another access near a maintenance yard closer to the old industrial areas. Another access near a station that usually isn't busy late at night. I pick the one that avoids major hubs, avoid crowds, avoid contagion. A teenager asks, whispering, "Are we going outside?" I tell the truth. Maybe, not yet. We keep moving. The corridor narrows. The air gets thicker. I smell something burned. Faint, probably electrical, not a full fire, but wiring that overheated when power spiked. I think about the stations above, old systems, aging infrastructure. Under stress, everything breaks at the same time. A few minutes later, we hear a new sound behind us. Not banging, running. Bare feet slapping tile, a scream that turns into a grunt, then a high-pitched laugh that makes my skin crawl. Someone is in the corridor behind us. I motion the group forward faster. No running. Running makes noise. Noise attracts, but we can't crawl. We need distance. Ahead is a door into a cross passage. I open it with my key and wave people through, one at a time, keeping a gap. I go last, listening. The runner sound is closer. I catch a glimpse down the corridor, just a shape in the emergency lights. A man, maybe, shirtless, moving wrong, head jerking, arms pumping too hard. He slams into the wall and bounces off, then corrects and keeps coming. He's not navigating by careful thought. He's following sound and movement. I pull the door shut and throw the bolt. It's a simple slide bolt, not a lock. I jam my flashlight between the bolt and the frame for extra friction. I hear the man hit the door a second later, shoulder first, hard enough that the door flexes. People gasp. A woman presses her hand to her mouth. I shake my head at her and mime, "Don't." She lowers it fast. The door takes another hit, then another. Then the sound shifts as the man runs away, then returns using momentum to slam in again. I look around the cross passage. It leads to another maintenance ladder. We don't have time. I whisper, "Move." We move. We climb a short set of service steps and emerge into a utility tunnel with different construction. Older brick in sections, newer concrete patched in. This is the ugly, layered city under the city, built over decades, maintained by people nobody sees. The banging fades behind us. Maybe the door holds. Maybe the infected gets distracted. Either way, we don't go back. The host on the news says there are now reports of secondary spread in shelters and precincts. He says police precincts are locking down, then reopening, then going silent. He says one precinct broadcasted a call for help and then nothing. He reads a fragment of a leaked internal memo from a federal health agency. He says he can't verify it fully. He says the memo suggests a high risk from blood and saliva, and a moderate risk from aerosol droplets at close range in enclosed spaces. He says the memo recommends eye protection and face covering. He says the memo warns that crowd control measures may increase transmission if they compress people. That last line hits me. Crowd control measures may increase transmission if they compress people. That's exactly what chaining exits does. It compresses. So the people chaining exits either don't understand the contagion or they understand it too well. We reach a vertical shaft with a ladder. There's a hatch at the top that comes out in a fenced service yard near a less central station. It's still dark outside. Early morning gray is starting to seep in. I check my phone, just after 5:30. We climb slowly, spacing out so nobody is directly under another person's shoes. If someone slips, it becomes a pile. If someone bleeds, it becomes exposure. I go first, crack the hatch, and listen. Outside is wind and distant sirens and a weird quiet in between. I hear a helicopter far away, then it cuts out mid-sound, not fading, just stopping. Either it flew behind buildings or something else happened. I can't see it from this angle. I open the hatch and step out into the fenced yard. It's littered with trash that wasn't there yesterday. Papers, a torn jacket, a shoe. The station building is visible through the fence. The main doors are shut. I see no people on the platform from here, but I hear noise somewhere nearby, a fast burst of yelling, then silence. I motion the group up. They climb one by one, emerging into the yard, blinking at the gray morning. A man in the group asks, "Where are we?" I give him a general answer, not a street address. North side, away from downtown. We need a destination. A place that can be defended. A place with water. A place without shared hallways. I think of my own row house. Bad idea. Too many neighbors, too many windows, too much risk. I think of the maintenance yards. They have fences and locked buildings and sometimes generators. They also attract people who think infrastructure equals supplies. I think of the big box stores. Terrible idea. Crowds and fights. I think of something unglamorous. A small industrial building with a metal door and no reason for crowds to head there. A place that stays boring. There is a signal equipment shop and storage area on the north end, not huge, but fenced, with a couple of concrete rooms and spare parts. It's not a fortress, but it's better than a row house. We move along the fence line and out through a gate I can unlock from this side. We take side streets, staying off main roads. I keep everyone spaced out in a loose line. No touching, no clustering. If someone turns, I want space to react. The city above ground is changing fast now. I pass a convenience store with shattered glass and the front door hanging crooked. The cashier area looks stripped. A cart sits abandoned in the doorway. There's blood on the tile near the entrance, dark and smeared. We cross an intersection where traffic lights are dead. Cars are stopped in random positions, some abandoned with doors open. A man is slumped over a steering wheel, 2 cars back. I can't tell if he's unconscious or dead. I don't go near. A block later, we hear a scream from behind a house, then a burst of running. A person comes around the corner, a young guy, maybe late teens, sprinting, eyes wild. He sees us and angles toward us, arms out, yelling something. I raise my hand and shout, "Stop!" Not polite, command voice. He doesn't stop. He keeps coming. I see blood on his shirt, fresh. I see spit on his chin. I step sideways and put distance between me and the group, creating a buffer. I keep my voice hard. Back up. Do not come closer. He keeps coming anyway, and his expression is not just fear. It's anger. It's locked. He lunges at the nearest person in my group, a man with a backpack. The man stumbles back and raises his hands. I grab the backpack strap and yank him away. I shove him behind me without looking, keeping my eyes on the runner. The runner swings at me, nails raking the air. I step back again. I don't have a weapon. I have a flashlight and a multi-tool. I'm not trying to fight. I'm trying not to get touched. The runner spits when he yells, droplets flying. I turn my face away and duck. One droplet hits my poncho and slides. That is the most terrifying thing that has happened to me so far. Not the banging, not the screaming, a droplet. I swing the flashlight, not at his head, at his shoulder, just to create space. The flashlight thuds into him. He grunts and stumbles, then comes again, faster. Behind him, another figure appears, also running, but this one is screaming for help, normal screaming. A woman, hair loose, face streaked with tears, chasing him, not attacking, trying to stop him. She yells, "He got hit! He got hit! He's not himself!" The runner turns on her instantly. He doesn't recognize her. He lunges. She tries to dodge. He catches her shoulder and drags her down. The group behind me freezes, horror locking them in place. That freeze is dangerous. Freeze becomes crowding. Crowd becomes contact. I yell, "Move!" I point down the street. "Keep going." Some obey. Some hesitate. The toddler starts crying, loud, which makes my skin crawl, because noise pulls danger in. I step back further and pull the gate of an alley open, motioning people through. "In here, single file." They squeeze through. I keep watching the runner and the woman. He is on her now, hitting, grabbing, trying to bite. She tries to push him off and her hands come away bloody. She screams again, and that scream is not going to end well. I can't help. I hate myself for it. I also know if I go near, I get blood and saliva on me. I become the next ignition point in my own group. I turn and slip into the alley, pulling the gate shut behind me. We move fast through backyards, jumping low fences where we can, avoiding main streets. The host on the broadcast keeps looping my message again, then adds new updates. He says the state has requested federal assistance. He says there are reports of military vehicles moving on major highways. He says airports are restricting flights. He says some airlines are grounding planes because crew members aren't showing up, and because passenger behavior is unsafe. He says something that makes my skin go cold. He says there are reports of the contagion spreading on aircraft and trains because people are confined in enclosed spaces. He says some planes have made emergency landings due to violent incidents on board. So this isn't just city to city through roads. It's global because modern travel is a perfect vector. We reach the signal equipment storage site near the north end. Fence perimeter, metal gate, small buildings, a yard with pallets and cabinets and spare hardware. The gate is locked with a heavy padlock. I have the key. My hands shake again as I work it. I keep imagining droplets. I keep imagining blood on a latch. The gate swings open. We move inside and I lock it behind us. The main building door is metal. I open it and wave people in. It's a simple shop. Concrete floor, workbenches, shelves of parts, a sink, a bathroom, a small office. No comfort, but structure. First thing I do is point at the sink. Wash, soap, one at a time, no crowding. People line up. A woman washes her kid's hands, then her own, then wipes her face without thinking, and I snap, "Don't!" She jerks her hands away, eyes wide, ashamed and scared. I tape a sign to the wall with a marker from the office. Do not touch face. It feels ridiculous. It also might save someone. I find a box of disposable gloves and pass them out. I find safety glasses. I find an old face shield used for grinding. I put it on. I look stupid. I don't care. We barricade the door with a workbench. We cover the windows with cardboard and tape. Not to be dramatic, to reduce visibility. Lights off inside makes it harder for people outside to see movement. I check the office computer. No internet. Power is spotty. The company network is dead. The only thing still working consistently is my phone data in bursts and the broadcast audio. I sit in the office chair and try to think. We have maybe 20 people. We have some water in the building, but city water might fail. We have a bathroom. We have a sink. We have limited food. Basically none, unless someone brought something. We have tools which can become weapons, but weapons are not the goal. Distance is the goal. I ask everyone to empty pockets and bags onto the workbench, not taking anything. Just inventory. Food, water, medications. A woman has an inhaler. A man has blood pressure pills. Someone has a small first aid kit. Someone has 2 granola bars. Someone has a bottle of sports drink. Someone has nothing but a phone with a cracked screen. We ration immediately. Not because we're starving now, but because panic eats supplies faster than hunger does. People overdrink when scared. People snack without thinking. I put the older, limping man in the office chair because he's shaking. I ask his name. He says Glenn. He says he was on his way to a job interview when everything went bad. He says he got trapped in the corridor. He says he watched an exit get chained and he thought he was losing his mind because it felt unreal. I tell him it's real. He nods, eyes wet, then stares at the floor. One of the teenagers, a boy, says his name is Reggie. He says he was at the station with his sister and he lost her in the crowd. He keeps asking if anyone saw her. Nobody did. I don't lie. I tell him we don't know. He punches the wall once, then puts his head down and starts breathing fast. I watch him closely because stress is fuel. Crowding is fuel. Any spark can ignite. I separate people into corners with space. I assign simple roles because people need something to do. One person watches the back door. One person watches the front. 2 people manage water. 1 person keeps the kids quiet. Roles give brains rails to run on. Outside, the city keeps collapsing. The broadcast says there are fires in multiple neighborhoods. Not big infernos, but scattered structure fires from unattended cooking, from electrical faults, from cars crashed into poles. Fire crews are not responding in many cases because they can't stage safely. The host says hospitals are triaging in parking lots. He says some are running out of protective gear. He says staff are being attacked. He says some facilities are locking doors and only admitting certain cases. Then the host says something that makes my throat tighten. He says there are reports of people turning violent after exposure, then returning to normal for short periods, then flipping again. He says it might not be permanent in every case. He says nobody knows. He says that uncertainty is causing families to take risks they shouldn't, trying to wait it out in the same room with someone who might flip again. I look at our group. I look at how close we are. 20 people. All it takes is one hidden exposure. One cut. One droplet. I make another hard rule. Nobody sleeps in the same room with strangers. We split into zones in the building. Office, main shop, back storage. Doors shut. People spaced. It's not comfortable. It's safer. At around 7:20 in the morning, someone pounds on our gate outside. We freeze. A few people move toward the door. I hold up a hand. Stop. The pounding continues. A voice yells, "Open up!" Another voice screams, "Please!" Then I hear a different sound mixed in. A growl. Not animal. Human throat noise. Aggressive. I motion everyone back. Lights off. Quiet. The pounding shifts to the gate itself rattling. Someone is pulling it. Someone is climbing it. I peek through a gap in the cardboard covering the window. The yard outside is partially visible. I see 3 people at the gate. 2 look normal, frantic, trying to open it. The third is moving wrong, head snapping, hands slamming the fence, face pressed to metal, mouth open, saliva strings visible even from here. The 2 normal people are between that infected and the street. They're trying to escape into our yard. They don't realize they're dragging the infection right to our door. One of them is a woman, maybe mid-30s. Hair in a bun, wearing hospital scrubs. She points at our building and yells again. The other is a man with a backpack, blood on his sleeve. The infected slams into the man's shoulder and tries to bite. The man shoves it away with his forearm. Blood smears. The woman screams. Every person in my building wants me to open the door. I can feel it. The urge to help is physical. It's also deadly. I step back and say quietly, "We can't." My voice cracks. I hate it. Glenn, the older man, whispers, "If that was my daughter." And he stops because he can't finish. The infected bites the man's forearm. The man howls. The woman in scrubs tries to pull him away. The infected lunges again and catches her sleeve, then her shoulder. She slams it with her fist, but she's too close. She's in saliva range. She's in blood range. They stumble into the gate. The gate rattles. The padlock holds. The man with the backpack looks toward our building and locks eyes with me through the gap. His face is a mask of betrayal and terror. He yells something I can't hear, then he swings his backpack at the infected and tries to run. The infected follows. The woman in scrubs drops to her knees, hands on her shoulder, blood soaking. She looks up at the fence, and then at the sky, and then she starts laughing. A high, broken sound, and I know she's flipping. I step away from the window. I can't watch. I also can't pretend I didn't choose. We stay quiet until the sounds outside fade. It takes a long time. The silence after feels heavy, as if the building itself is ashamed. That's the moment I realize how this will go. Not one big heroic stand. 1,000 small choices, each one leaving someone outside a door. At 9:10, my phone finally gets a message from Lonnie. It's not a normal text. It's a forwarded internal alert. It says, "All personnel, avoid public-facing assets. Do not engage with civilians. Do not discuss measures. Maintain operational security." Operational security for a rail company in Baltimore during a citywide meltdown. I feel anger rise, hot and clean, because now I know the chaining of exits isn't just a rogue decision by a panicked station manager, it's policy. The host on the broadcast confirms it without meaning to. He says sources tell him certain transit hubs are being used as containment points to prevent spread into surrounding neighborhoods. He says he cannot verify. He says he has asked officials directly and been ignored. He says he is playing my message again. My voice loops across the city, and I realize I have become a problem for someone, not because I'm lying, but because I'm saying the part they want hidden. A little before noon, we hear engines outside, not cars. Heavy engines. A rumble that shakes the yard. I peek through the cardboard again. A convoy moves down the street. Military vehicles. Not tanks, but armored trucks and utility vehicles. A couple of police cars trailing, lights off. Soldiers in helmets, faces covered, rifles at low ready. They do not stop. They do not look around. They move through the neighborhood with purpose, heading toward something. The group in the shop whispers. People press toward the windows. I push them back. Stay off the glass. The broadcast confirms there is a security operation underway. The host says the governor is expected to speak. The host says there are rumors of cordon zones being established around major transit corridors. Cordon zones. That means lines drawn. That means parts of the city written off. The governor speaks just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The voice is tired and trying to sound strong. He says people must shelter in place. He says avoid contact. He says the state is working with federal partners. He says there are containment measures to prevent spread. He says do not travel into Baltimore City unless directed. He says those inside the city should remain where they are. Remain where you are. That is the line that tells me the city is being treated as a sealed container. A teenager in our group asks, so they're leaving us. Nobody answers because the answer is obvious. At 2:30, our water pressure drops. The sink sputters. The toilet refills slow. That's the first infrastructure loss we feel directly. I fill every container I can find. Buckets, bottles. A plastic bin used for spare parts. Water is life. Without it, we have hours, not days. The broadcast says there are issues at treatment plants, staff shortages, security incidents. Some facilities are going into automatic modes. The host says he doesn't know how long city water will remain stable. We need a longer plan. We need to either get out of the city or move to a place with reliable water access and defensible space. The rail corridors can take me out, not on trains, on foot. The right-of-way runs north toward less dense areas. It's dangerous because it's open and exposed, but it also avoids streets where crowds cluster. I think about the people who would follow my message now. People might be trying to access service corridors. People might be flooding these hidden routes. That means my advantage is shrinking every hour. I decide we move again before dark. People move more at night. Fear makes them move. Infected follow noise and motion regardless of day, but night adds confusion. I pick a destination north where there's water access and less density. A maintenance facility near a reservoir area, or at least closer to the edge where we can decide whether to cross out of the city. I tell the group the plan in short terms. We go north. We use back routes and right-of-way. We avoid stations. We stay spaced. If anyone gets blood on them, they stop and wash if possible. If anyone flips, We do not crowd them. We run. That last word makes people flinch, but it's real. Running is not a tactic. It's an emergency exit. We leave at 4:15 in the afternoon. Gray light outside, wind picking up. The air smells more smoky now. We move through industrial back streets, then onto a fenced service path that parallels the rail corridor. I keep us away from road crossings where cars have piled up. We pass a small park where a group of people has gathered around a pickup truck, handing out bottled water. It looks almost normal from a distance. People standing in a loose line. Someone shouting instructions. Then I see the problem. The line is too tight. People are touching shoulders. A kid is crying. Someone is wiping sweat off their face with their hand. A man coughs and spits onto the ground and wipes his mouth. It could be nothing. It could be everything. I keep my group moving past without stopping. A woman in our group whispers, "We need water." I nod. "We do. Not that way." A block later we hear shouting from the park. Not normal shouting. A sudden rising roar. Then screams. Then the sound of bodies colliding. We don't look back. We keep moving faster. As we approach a rail overpass, we hear a new sound from ahead. A train horn. Not moving, just blasting. A long, sustained note. Then a pause. Then another. Someone is on a locomotive leaning on the horn to warn people off the track, or to call for help, or to keep infected away with noise, which is a terrible idea because noise attracts. We climb a slope to see the track. There is a commuter train stopped on the main line, cars full, doors closed. People inside press faces to windows. Some wave, some pound. The locomotive horn blasts again. On the ballast near the front, I see bodies moving. Not dead bodies, people. Some running, some stumbling. Some already violent, chasing. The stopped train has become a magnet, a box full of trapped humans. I see a man outside the train slam his hands on a door. The door doesn't open. He slips in the gravel and falls. 2 infected figures hit him immediately. My group recoils. Someone whispers a curse. The toddler starts crying again. The mother clamps him close and turns his face into her shoulder. I make a call. We do not go near the train. We do not help. We cannot. The moment you get close, you get splashed, you get grabbed, you turn, then you infect your own group. We back away and take a service route that skirts the line. It adds distance, but keeps us alive. The broadcast says rail operations nationwide are being suspended. Freight corridors are being locked down. Major cities are shutting transit completely. The host says supply chains will be affected fast. Food deliveries, fuel deliveries, medical supplies. He says it will not take weeks, it will take days. I think about Baltimore's port, about trucks, about warehouses, about the way modern life depends on constant motion. If you stop motion, the shelves empty. If you empty shelves, people fight. Fighting spreads fluids. Fluids spread rage. It feeds itself. We reach another maintenance access, a fenced gate leading down into a service corridor that can bring us north under a busy roadway. The gate is locked, not with my padlock, with a new lock. I stare at it, heart pounding. A heavy lock with fresh shine, not our standard. Someone came through here recently and changed it. That means someone is actively controlling these routes. I try my key anyway, it doesn't fit. We can't go down. We have to stay on the surface longer, which increases risk. The group looks at me. Reggie whispers, "So what now?" I don't sugarcoat. We walk. We take side streets north, sticking to areas with fewer people. That's harder now because people are migrating. You can feel it. The city is pushing bodies outward, like a slow tide, except the tide is afraid. At one intersection, we see a police barricade. 2 cruisers angled across the road. Nobody inside. Doors open. A shotgun rack visible. The barricade is abandoned. There are tire spikes on the ground, placed and then left. A man in our group steps toward the cruisers, eyes on the shotgun. I grab his sleeve and pull him back. "No, you touch that. You become the target of everyone who sees it." He looks angry, then ashamed. He nods. We move on. A few blocks later, we hear gunfire. Not constant, scattered. A couple shots, then silence. Then a burst of shots, fast, then silence again. The group flinches. Someone whispers, "They're shooting people." I answer honestly, "They're shooting infected, or they're shooting each other. Either way, we stay away." We take a detour through a schoolyard. The school building is dark, doors locked. A banner still hangs from a fence about some event that now feels from another life. As we cut behind the building, we hear voices from inside. Kids, or maybe adults. Hard to tell, then a banging from inside a door. Someone trapped. Someone trying to get out. A woman in our group, the one with the toddler, stops and turns toward the sound, face twisting. I put a hand up, not touching her, just blocking her path. "No." She whispers, "There are kids." I say, "If that door opens and one is infected, we all die." My voice is harsh. I regret it instantly. It's still true. She stares at me, eyes wet, then she turns away, shaking. We keep moving. By dusk, we're exhausted. People are stumbling. The older man, Glenn, is sweating heavily. His limp is worse. He keeps rubbing his forearm, and I watch his hands because rubbing turns into face touching without thinking. We need shelter for the night. Something with a door that can hold. I spot an industrial building with a roll-up door and a side entrance. It's a small workshop, maybe auto or fabrication. The side door is metal. Windows are high and narrow. Good. The door is locked. I don't have the key. I don't want to smash glass because noise brings attention. I find a rear service door. It has an old lock. I use my multi-tool and a thin piece of metal from a scrap pile to pop it. It takes too long. My hands sweat. My breath comes loud. The door finally clicks. We slip inside fast and shut it. Inside smells of oil and metal. There are workbenches, tools, a sink, a couple of old vending machines. One of them is tipped over, empty. The other still hums faintly, probably on a dying circuit. We lock ourselves in and barricade with a tool chest. We stay dark. We sit on the floor and try not to make noise. The broadcast in my earbud continues. The host's voice is hoarse now. He says he has been on air for almost 20 hours. He says he can't stop because when he stops, people will only hear the official voice. He says he has received reports that some containment nodes are being sealed with physical barriers, including chains and welded gates, to slow movement. He says officials deny it. He says listeners keep sending video. Then he says something that makes my blood run cold. He says his station has received a request from authorities to stop rebroadcasting the maintenance loop message. He says the request did not include an explanation. He says the request included language about interfering with operations. So it's official now. Someone wants my voice silenced. I check my phone and see a new message from an unknown number. No name, just text. It says, "Stop transmitting. You are causing harmful movement." My stomach drops. I didn't give my number on air. That means someone traced the maintenance system or pulled logs or someone in my company leaked it. I show the message to nobody. If I show it, it will panic the group. Panic equals mistakes. I reply with one word before I can stop myself. "Who?" No response. Outside the workshop, we hear movement, footsteps, then a scrape as if someone is dragging something along the wall, then a sharp bang on a metal door somewhere nearby. I hold my breath. Everyone does. The banging stops. Silence. Then another bang, closer. Glenn starts breathing fast. I crouch near him and whisper, slow breaths, in, out, quiet. He nods, but his eyes are wide. A teenage girl, maybe 16, whispers to me, "Are we safe?" I tell the truth, for now. In the dark, I can't stop thinking about the locked gate with the new padlock, about the text message telling me to stop, about the official voice insisting exits aren't chained while my bolt cutters still smell faintly of metal and grease from cutting chain. This isn't just collapse. This is management. Someone is trying to steer the collapse. At around 11:40 at night, the workshop power dies. The vending machine hum stops. Emergency lights flicker once and go out. We are in full dark. My flashlight becomes the only light. I keep it off unless needed. Light leaks through cracks and draws attention. The broadcast on my phone glitches. The host's voice breaks up, then returns. He says their studio is on backup power now. He says they are running on a generator and they don't know how long fuel will last. He says something else. He says there are reports that some local stations are being ordered off the air, either by direct request or by technical interference. He says a couple of smaller stations went silent at the same time, which suggests something coordinated. Coordinated information control during a biological crisis. I feel a cold anger settle in me. Not rage virus anger, human anger, a steady one. If my message causes movement, it causes movement away from chained doors. That's what they don't want. They want people staying in place. They want the city compartmentalized. I decide I'm not stopping. I'm just getting smarter. I record a new message on my phone, quieter, more specific, and safer. I avoid telling people to go into service corridors unless they already know access exists. I focus on protective behavior, distance, eye covering, hand washing, avoiding crowds, not forming tight lines for supplies, not forcing doors with bodies pressed together. I also add one line that feels dangerous to say. If a door is chained, someone chose that. Don't waste time arguing with it. Find another route or break away early. I don't broadcast it yet. I wait. At dawn, we move again. The workshop isn't secure long term. No water supply we can trust. No clear exits. We need to get north, closer to the edge. We slip out early, staying quiet. The street outside is littered with debris. Smoke hangs low. Somewhere not far, a building is burning, orange glow behind rooftops. We head toward the rail, right of way again because it's a straight path north and it avoids some street intersections. It's risky, but predictable. As we approach the tracks, we see a new sight. A line of cars abandoned on an on-ramp. Doors open, luggage spilled. People tried to leave. Something stopped them. Maybe barricades, maybe violence, maybe they turned on each other. On the broadcast, the host says highways out of some cities are being restricted. He says there are checkpoints. He says there are reports of people being turned back. He says officials claim it's to prevent spread. He says critics claim it's containment. Containment again, always containment. We move along the ballast, single file, staying off the rails. I tell everyone to watch footing because a twisted ankle means death now. Nobody complains, people just move. Ahead, in the distance, I see a cluster near a trackside cabinet. Someone is there, maybe a crew, maybe civilians. I stop the group behind a concrete barrier and crouch to look. It's a rail worker in an orange vest, sitting against the cabinet, head down. Another worker stands over him, shaking him, yelling. The standing worker looks normal but panicked. The sitting worker's hands are red, blood on his gloves. The standing worker turns and sees us and waves frantically. He yells, "Help!" I hesitate. My brain runs the logic fast. Blood is risk. Close contact is risk. But this is also one of ours. Someone with knowledge, someone who might have access, tools, information. I step forward alone, leaving the group back. I keep distance and yell, "What happened?" The standing worker says, "He got sprayed. Somebody hit him and there was blood. He's not right. He's breathing weird." I see the sitting worker's shoulders twitch. His head lifts slightly. His eyes look unfocused. The standing worker, voice breaking, says, "He's my partner. I can't leave him." I want to tell him to back away. I want to grab him and pull him. But touching him is risk, and if his partner flips, it will happen fast. I keep my voice steady. Step back. Give him space. Don't touch your face. The standing worker shakes his head. He's fine. He just needs water. Denial. It's everywhere. Denial kills. The sitting worker suddenly jerks up and lunges at the standing worker's torso, grabbing his vest. The standing worker screams, tries to push him off. The sitting worker's mouth opens, teeth bared, saliva stringing. I step back hard. The standing worker shoves his partner away and stumbles toward me, hands out, eyes wide, pleading. Behind him, his partner is already on his feet, moving with that same locked forward motion. I yelled to my group, "Back!" I waved them away down the track. "Go!" The standing worker reaches for me. I snap, "Don't." He grabs my sleeve anyway. I rip my sleeve free and shove him away with my forearm, not hands, trying to avoid contact. His face twists in shock and betrayal. Then his partner hits him from behind, and they go down into the ballast together. I turn and run to catch up to my group, chest burning, throat tight. Not from exertion alone, from the weight of leaving people. We keep moving north, faster now, not stopping until the city thins and the tracks run through quieter stretches. Behind us, somewhere in Baltimore, my voice is still being looped, and now I'm starting to understand what that means. It means people will follow it into corridors and gates and choke points. It means officials will blame me when crowds move. It means someone might come looking for me, not infected, but organized. I don't know which is worse, the rage virus that spreads through blood and saliva, or the calm human decision to chain an exit and call it containment. And we're still walking north, step after step, because the only real rule left is simple: stay out of crowds, stay out of contact. Keep moving before the system closes around you.